Hello everybody, my name's Harley and today I'm going to do a video showing you guys how to use the GIF Toolkit. Some of the things I'm going to cover today is the contents of the Unity package, then I'm going to run through the example scene, and then I'm going to create a fresh scene and communicate with the plugin to show you guys how quickly you can set up some GIF search results. So starting off with the plugin contents, we've got the core folder. This here is the code that drives the API, and you generally won't have to use that because you'll be using the handler scripts, which I'll get into in a second. Then there's the documentation folder. The documentation is going to have some example documents, some use cases, and some recommendations, which some of that I will cover today. For the rest of it, you can check that in your own time. Gizmos folder, just a gizmo. Okay, so in the handler folder we have an example scene, which is what I have open here and I'll be running through soon. And then we have the scripts folder, which mostly you'll be looking at is the GIF searcher component. This is the component that you can use with Uni and interact. And then there is a press kit. So Tenor provides images for you to use. I've included these in the package to save you having to go and source them yourself. One thing to cover quickly is that using this plugin uses Tenor, and using Tenor means that you need to follow the end user license agreement. One thing that Tenor requires from all people using their API is that when making search results, making searches or showing GIFs, you need to attribute them in some kind of way. So that might be by a logo or by having search tenor or something close to that inside the actual search bar where you're searching GIFs. That's all up to you on how you wish to do. There's more information on that in the documentation, so I'll just leave it there. Okay, so now we'll just jump into the example scene. This here is an imitation of a chat system that you might have in game. You can send some messages, look at some GIFs, and that's pretty much it. So I'll just jump into it. So say you're in game and you want to message your buddy and you're like, yeah, good game. And then you want to send some kind of GIF, you can search, good game. And there'll be something, send them a GIF. And that's pretty simple. The code that drives this example scene is really well documented. I'm not going to open it up though. It's something you can look at in your own time. What I'm going to do now though is jump into a new scene and start building something up from scratch, display some GIFs and show you how quickly it can be set up. So in a fresh scene, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the component, the GIF searcher. So let's just call this game object GIF searcher and add the component GIF searcher. Okay, so the GIF searcher component has a few sections which I'll run through quickly. There's the Tenor API part. So in order to reach out to Tenor and get information, you need some kind of authorization code, which is called the API key. The one that is pre-populated in the plugin here is a public-facing key. It's on the Tenor website. It's purely just for dev purposes, and it could change at any time. So the time I'm recording this video, it does work, but it may not in the future. So when you start working on it, you'll want to head to this website here and get your own API key and start using that. Okay. And then there's search parameters. So this is going to define how you're getting searches back. There's a search limit, content filter, and a random search keyword. Search limit is pretty straightforward. You can make a request and search GIFs from anywhere from 1 to 50. 50 is the maximum that you can pull back from the API, so it's capped here for you. Content filter. So depending on what type of game you're making, you may want to restrict certain content. Goes from high all the way to off. High being G, medium being G and PG, low being G, PG and PG-13, and then off, which will include R. But of course, no nudity, which is a given. And the random search keyword, here I have random. So you can't truly search random GIFs on Tenor, but you can search random based on a parameter. So by default that's random, and if you were to call the random search, you would get random, if that makes sense. That's as great for when you say first open up your GIF keyboard and you just want to have something showing there before the user searches. Okay, and on the next is the onSearch event, which I'll get into a little bit more, but basically you will need this to be referenced in order to use the search functionality. So I'm going to start by setting up some of the UI. I'm going to put in a canvas and then an input field. I'm going to just put this input field right down the bottom. I'll bring that down a little bit. Make it nice and wide, nice and high, and bump this text up. Now, as I mentioned before about attributing, one of the ways you can attribute using Tenor is just by having the placeholder text here. So you could write in search Tenor, and that covers you. Alright, so we have a GIF component, the GIF component, GIF searcher, and we have an input field. So let's see what we can do with that. On the onEdit event, I'm going to reference the GIF searcher, and I'm going to call a function search GIFs. There's search GIF text and string. String is if you want to hardcode the search yourself, and text if you just want to make it through the UI. So I'm going to drag that over there. I'm going to hit play, and what you're going to see is a bit of a warning pop up. But that is as intended. Hang on, I'll hide this so you can see it come up. Now, say we just search good game. You get this here. Cannot do event search without object/function setup inspector. That's because in the component here we haven't said where we're going to send that information to. So it hasn't bothered to do the API search, which is yeah, just the way it is. So I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna create a script, and I'll just call that example script, and also attach that to the GIF searcher component. There we go. So we're gonna call a function on here. Bring this over. There we go. We can get rid of these. Just called public void onSearch results. Now, when I go in here and I attach it, I'm not going to be able to reference that function straight away. So, drag this on here. It'll have an option there, but I can't select anything. And that's because the onSearch callback requires special functions to be set up. The function needs to be public, and it needs to have constructors of a certain type, which is one that includes Tenor formatted results and a boolean to represent whether the API is sending you results that are from a next page. So whether it was the first search or the search of the next page. So in the function here, we're going to go in here and add a reference to the plugin using GIF Toolkit.handler, and that will give us access to the GIF. Let me just double check this. It's called the Tenor formatted results. You can call that results, and we'll also need a bool for next page. Cool. Now if we go back into Unity, that should be visible. So let's drop down here, example script, onSearch results. Now, apart from searching by text, there is also search by ID, but I won't cover that in this video. It's pretty simple. It's just searching based on the ID that's in the Tenor database. What that would be used for is if you've made a search on your game and you've chosen to send that GIF across the chat, you wouldn't send the whole GIF, you would send the ID, and then the person on the other side would make their API call by the ID to get the exact GIF back. Alright, so now that we got that, let's try and get some information showing. So I might just do a debug.log, and we'll just return how many GIFs we've searched. So results, GIF results dot count. And I don't have my glasses on, so I'm just going to zoom this in a little bit. There we go. Now if I jump back in the game, before we do that, in the plugin here we've said to get 50. 50 is quite a lot, so I'm going to drop this down to about 9. 9 is actually a good number that I recommend when doing searches, because you don't want the total search results to be too big where it takes too long to get a response, but you also don't want it to be too low where the user would have to search too often. So 9's a pretty good amount. I'm also going to put this content filter on here, just so we don't get anything back that we shouldn't have in the video. Alright, so now let's hit play and search hello. And there we go. Console has written 9, and we've got 9 GIFs back. So let's do something to start having these GIFs show on the screen. I'm going to start with the panel, place for these to live in. We'll make this all the way, bring this in by 50, 50, 50, and then 150. That's good. Maybe a bit taller. There we go. That's about right. Cool. And we're going to want to display these GIFs in a grid. So I'm going to add a grid layout group. I'm going to add some padding to these. I'm going to padding of 10. Now I'm going to add a raw image just to put a few in there to preview what the size will look like. So we go raw image, got those out. Probably end up doing about 15. Let's size these up. What's that, 4, 5, by there. That looks good. I'll delete that. Great, so that's about the size we'll want. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to jump back into Unity, and I'm going to reference this panel with a transform. Just go to public, transform, GIF container. Let's do that now. Great, so now this is going to be where the GIFs get put. So we don't need to debug anymore. We're going to have to do a for each loop to go through each GIF. And we want for each var GIF result in results.GIF results. Now the reason why I've called this a var is because it's a lot quicker to write. The GIF results get returned in a dictionary format. If I hold my mouse over here, I can show you. So the int for the key of the dictionary represents the ID of the GIF, what you would use to make API calls to return exact GIFs. And then the value of the dictionary is the media associated to that GIF, which will be the title, the size, various quality formats. So let's start in. I might do the highest quality for this video just to show you the max potential of it. So the GIF class is under the formatted results. So if we go Tenor formatted results .gif, we want to grab our GIF from the GIF result and the value of the dictionary key, and we're going to grab normal size. Great. So now we got our GIF and we can do something with it. And we'll start by creating a game object to store the information in. So game object go is equal to new game object. And this game object is going to need a couple things. It's going to be a name and some components that it will be using. So we'll start off with a name. I think the easiest thing to do is just name it by the ID, the API ID of the GIF. So you come in here, GIF.API ID to string. Now, in order to display a GIF using this plugin, you're going to need a video player component, and the video player component is going to need to push onto a render texture, which then will be mapped to a raw image. So we're going to start off straight away with a couple components here. We're going to have a type of raw image, which is added up there, UnityEngine.ui and UnityEngine video after we add the video player. So we have a type of video player. Great. And now let's get those components into a reference. So we have a raw image is equal to go dot get component. And video player is equal to go dot get component. Oops. Now I have to be honest with you guys. This is actually the first time I've ever recorded a video on a how-to, so it's not something I usually do. If I'm talking fast, I do apologize, or if I'm going too slow or over-explaining anything, just trying to do the best I can and give you guys the most information I can as well. Also, I would like to say, if you do find this GIF useful in the end and you do get it, please jump on the asset store and just rate it for us. It would be highly appreciated. Anyway, I'll keep moving on. So now that we've got our game object, we've got a raw image, and we've got a video player, it's time to start getting that GIF loaded in. So from here, we need to get information mapped, and there is a function called helper functions. This is a public class, and there's two in here: prepare GIF player for an existing render and a new render. In this case, we're going to want a new render because we haven't yet created a render texture. And this here needs to reference a video player component that is already in the game. It will output a render texture. It takes in a GIF result to grab the information, and then just a couple options there: loop GIF and disable audio. By default, they are set to true. The reason why disable audio is set to true is most often you're not going to want to have audio on your GIFs. Tenor API does support GIFs with audio, but they're very rare. So if you have audio enabled in your game, people are going to be playing, they're not going to realize, and then suddenly a GIF will have audio and they'll wonder why. So my personal preference would be to leave it out, but you can do whatever you want. It's there as a choice. So we're going to start by referencing the video player, and we're going to output a new render texture. Call that render texture, and we will leave those settings by default. Whoops, and I've missed something. We also have to pass through the GIF. There we go. Alright, so now what this function is going to do is going to take that video player. It's going to pass through the information from the GIF, set up the render texture to the perfect size that it needs to be, wrap that all up, and then pass back out. So if I dig in here, I can give you a look. So it's taking these, setting the render texture to be the size of the GIF's pixels, setting the source to URL type, everything there. But this is all pretty much going to be exactly the same every time, so there's just a nice little function there to reduce the code flow. So that's pretty much it. The only thing left to do is to play the video. So in between here, you may want to do some other things. You might want to have a button component, set up some on clicks to then call out, but that's all covered in the example scene. So for here, I'm just going to start the video player, which will start playing the GIF. Oops. And start. play. My apologies. There we go. So I believe that should be it. One more thing. Couple more things. So we have the raw image of the game, but its texture needs to be assigned to the render texture. Otherwise, you're not going to see anything. Alright, there we go. So I'm going to jump back into the game. I'm going to change the search limit to 15 because it's the exact amount we want to see. And now hit play and see what happens. If everything's done correctly, it should just show straight away. So we go, good game. Hit enter. Yep, we're missing one thing. So the objects are instantiated, but they're not going to where they need to go. So we got to go into the transform and set the parent of the game object to be the GIF container, which I've also spelt wrong. I really should have my glasses on. Anyway, I'll leave it as is. There we go. Now I hit play. Search. Good game. There we go. As you can see, this is full quality unconstrained sizes returned from Tenor API, which isn't too slow. I think that's pretty good. We can drop that down, and if your internet's a bit slower or you anticipate that the gamer's internet's going to be a bit slow, you can drop that down. It has nano size, normal size, and tiny size, nano being the smallest. So you may not notice much of a difference, but let's go again. It's a little bit faster. Anyway, from here you can do whatever you want. You can pass through that information, turn it into a button, incorporate it into a chat. It's all up to you. I hope this video has been informative. I hope you do enjoy using the plugin. It's been a pleasure, and I hope you have a good day. See ya.